You wake up every morning knowing you're capable of more. Deep down, you feel it burning in your chest. That restless energy that whispers you were meant for something greater than struggling to pay bills. Watching others live the life you dream about. Praying for miracles while your potential stays locked away like treasure buried in a field you're too afraid to dig. I am Solomon, the man history remembers as the wealthiest who ever lived. And I'm here to tell you something that will shatter everything you've been taught about money, faith, and your purpose on this earth. God didn't make you to be poor. He didn't design you to spend your life begging for scraps or feeling guilty every time you desire abundance. The power to create wealth isn't something you need to pray for, hope for, or wait for. It's already inside you. It has been since the day you were born. But here's the problem. Nobody taught you how to use it. They taught you to pray and wait. They taught you that wanting wealth makes you selfish. They taught you that poverty is somehow holy. And while you've been sitting there believing these lies, your dreams have been dying one day at a time. Today, that changes. Today, you stop being a victim of circumstances and step into the truth of who you really are, a co-creator with the divine, someone designed not just to survive, but to thrive, someone called not just to receive blessings, but to become one. This isn't about positive thinking or empty motivation. This is about awakening the spiritual power that flows through your veins right now, the same power that built kingdoms, moved mountains, and turned ordinary people into legends. You're about to discover why I asked for wisdom and received wealth beyond measure, why faith without action is dead, and why the moment you align your spiritual purpose with intentional action, money stops being your master and becomes your servant. But I need to warn you, once you see what I'm about to show you, you can never go back to making excuses. You can never again blame God, your circumstances, or anyone else for the life you're living. Because you'll know, beyond any doubt, that the power to change everything is in your hands. If you're ready to stop playing small and start living the abundant life you were created for, then stay with me. Subscribe to this channel right now, because what you're about to learn will transform not just your bank account, but your entire identity. And once you taste real prosperity, you'll wonder how you ever lived without it. Number 1, the ignored promise. You have been carrying a secret burden your entire life. Every night when the world goes quiet and you're left alone with your thoughts, you feel it. That gnawing sensation that something is fundamentally wrong with your relationship to money. You pray. You work, you try to be good. Yet abundance remains a distant dream, always belonging to someone else, never to you. You wonder if God forgot about you, if you're somehow cursed, if prosperity is reserved for others while you're destined to struggle. But what if I told you that everything you've been taught about wealth and faith is a lie? What if the very foundation of your financial frustration isn't your lack of faith, but your misunderstanding of a promise that was given to you before you even drew your first breath? In Deuteronomy 8 verse 18, God makes a declaration so profound that most people read it without truly hearing it. But remember the Lord your God, for it is He who gives you the power to get wealth. Read those words again. Slowly, let them sink into your soul. It doesn't say God might give you wealth if you're lucky. It doesn't say God will give you wealth if you pray hard enough. It says God gives you the power to get wealth. Present tense. Already done. Already yours. This isn't a promise of luck or chance. This isn't a cosmic lottery ticket where you might win if the stars align. This is a declaration of spiritual reality. You already possess, right now, in this very moment, the divine power to create wealth. It flows through your blood like oxygen. It pulses in your mind like electricity. It exists in your spirit like an eternal flame that no circumstance can extinguish. Picture a man standing beside a vast river dying of thirst. The water is pure, abundant, endless. All around him, others are drinking freely, their thirst quenched, their bodies strong. But this man doesn't know how to cup his hands. He doesn't understand that he can bend down and drink. He was never taught that the river exists for him too. So he stands there, parched and desperate, begging the sky for rain while an ocean of possibility flows at his feet. This is humanity's relationship with wealth. We have been given access to the infinite creative power of the universe itself. The same force that spoke galaxies into existence, that breathes life into every living thing, that transforms seeds into forests. This power doesn't discriminate. It doesn't choose favorites. It doesn't withhold itself from anyone willing to learn how to channel it. But here's where everything went wrong. Somewhere along the way, religion taught us to ask for wealth instead of learning to create it. They taught us to wait for wealth instead of working to generate it. They taught us that wanting wealth makes us selfish, that poverty makes us holy, that struggle somehow brings us closer to God. These teachings have created generations of spiritually rich, but financially poor people who believe their emptiness is evidence of their righteousness. They pray for miracles while their talents rust unused. They ask God to bless them while refusing to become a blessing to others. They want abundance to fall from heaven while never planting seeds in earth. I have walked in palaces and slept under stars. I have commanded armies and sat alone in meditation. And I tell you this truth that shakes the foundations of everything you've been taught. Poverty is not a virtue. Struggle is not sacred. Financial limitation is not God's plan for your life. When God gave you the power to create wealth, He wasn't giving you a burden. He was giving you a tool of transformation. He wasn't setting you up for temptation. He was equipping you for impact. The power to generate abundance isn't separate from your spirituality. It is the very expression of your divine nature made manifest in the material world. But power unused becomes power forgotten. A muscle that never flexes grows weak. A gift that remains wrapped eventually fades from memory. Most people live their entire lives never knowing they carry within them the same creative force that built kingdoms, established nations, and changed the course of human history. The tragedy isn't that God withholds wealth from good people. The tragedy is that good people withhold themselves from learning how to access what God has already provided. They mistake their ignorance for humility. They confuse their fear with faith. They call their inaction patience and their limitation surrender. Every morning you wake up with the power of creation pulsing through your veins. Every thought you think, every word you speak, every action you take is either building wealth or destroying it. There is no neutral ground. You are either learning to harness the divine power within you or allowing it to remain dormant, while you convince yourself that poverty is proof of your purity. The time has come to stop asking God for what He has already given you. The time has come to start learning how to use what has been yours all along. Number 2, why so many have faith and remain poor. You know them. Maybe you are one of them. Faithful people who pray every day, attend every service, give what little they have, and yet remain trapped in financial struggle year after year. They love God with all their heart. They believe with unwavering conviction. They would rather die than compromise their faith. And yet, prosperity eludes them like water slipping through desperate fingers. This creates a wound so deep that most people never speak of it. They smile and say, God will provide, while their bills pile up. They declare, my God shall supply all my needs, while their children go without. They quote scripture about abundance while their dreams die one unpaid invoice at a time. And late at night, in the secret chambers of their hearts, they wonder if God has forgotten them, if they're doing something wrong, if faith is just a beautiful lie that keeps people content with less. But faith without wisdom isn't faith at all. It's spiritual fantasy. It's religious escapism dressed up as devotion. True faith doesn't ignore reality. It transforms reality through aligned action. True faith doesn't wait for miracles. It creates conditions for miracles to manifest. The problem isn't that these good people lack faith. The problem is that their faith has been severed from understanding. They have been taught to expect without examining, to believe without building, to pray without preparing. They think faith means sitting still and waiting for God to move on their behalf. But God is already moving. He's moving through you. He's moving as you. The question isn't when God will act. The question is when you will align yourself with how God acts. Imagine a farmer who plants nothing but prays for harvest. Every morning he walks to his empty field and asks God to fill it with crops. He fasts, he weeps, he pleads with heaven. His faith is genuine, his heart is pure. But his field remains barren because faith without corresponding action is like a car without fuel. It may be beautifully designed, but it will never reach its destination. The earth doesn't respond to good intentions. It responds to seeds planted, ground broken, water applied, weeds removed. Faith is not the substitute for work. Faith is the confidence that your work, aligned with divine principle, will produce supernatural results. But here's where the corruption crept in. Religion began teaching that wealth was somehow opposed to spirituality. They created a false separation between sacred and secular, between faith and finance, between devotion and prosperity. They convinced people that wanting more was evidence of spiritual immaturity, that being satisfied with less was the mark of true holiness. This poison has infected the minds of millions of believers who now feel guilty every time they desire a better life. They apologize to God for wanting to provide well for their families. They feel ashamed for dreaming of financial freedom. They believe that struggle purifies them and that comfort corrupts them. So they pray for just enough to get by. They ask for only what they need, never what they want. They settle for survival instead of reaching for abundance. And then they wonder why their lives feel small, why their impact is limited, why their potential remains trapped behind walls of religious programming. I have seen kingdoms rise and fall. I have watched the faithful prosper and the faithless stumble into temporary wealth only to lose it all. And I tell you this, God doesn't bless financial ignorance with supernatural provision. He blesses financial wisdom with supernatural multiplication. He doesn't reward spiritual laziness with material abundance. He amplifies the efforts of those who combine faith with intelligent action. The wealthy understand something that the poor faithful have forgotten. God works through systems, not in spite of them. He operates through natural laws, not against them. He multiplies what you plant, not what you pray for without planting. He blesses the work of your hands, when your hands are actually working in alignment with His principles. You cannot pray yourself out of poverty if you're not willing to learn your way into prosperity. You cannot ask God to bless your finances if you're not willing to educate yourself about how finances work. You cannot expect supernatural results from natural ignorance. Faith is not believing God will do everything for you. Faith is knowing that God has equipped you with everything you need to do what He has called you to do. Faith is the confidence that the power He has placed within you is more than enough to overcome any obstacle you will face. Faith is acting on what God has already provided, instead of waiting for what you think He should provide. The shift begins when you stop asking God to change your circumstances and start asking God to change you into someone who can handle better circumstances. When you stop praying for money to fall from heaven and start praying for wisdom to create value on earth. When you stop expecting God to do your part and start trusting God to do His part as you do yours. Your faith isn't the problem, your understanding is. Your heart isn't wrong, your education is incomplete. Your devotion isn't questioned, your application needs adjustment. Number 3, what is the power to create wealth? You were born with something more valuable than any inheritance, more powerful than any salary, more reliable than any investment. You carry within your very being the capacity to generate value from nothing, to solve problems that don't yet have solutions, to create abundance where only scarcity existed before. This isn't metaphysical mysticism. This is practical spirituality. This is the divine nature expressing itself through human creativity. But most people spend their entire lives thinking wealth comes from outside sources. They believe money comes from jobs, from bosses, from the economy, from luck, from family connections. They see themselves as victims of external circumstances, dependent on systems they cannot control, hoping someone else will provide what they need to survive. This victim mentality has crippled generations of potentially wealthy people who never learned to see themselves as the source of their prosperity, instead of the recipient of someone else's generosity. They trade their creative power for the illusion of security. They exchange their unlimited potential for the comfort of a predictable paycheck. They mortgage their dreams for the false safety of someone else's approval. But wealth has never been about what flows to you. Wealth has always been about what flows through you. True prosperity isn't something you receive, it's something you generate. It's not something that happens to you. It's something that happens through you when you understand and activate the creative force that has been placed within your spirit. Think of a river. Water doesn't create the riverbed channels the water. But without the water, the riverbed is just dry ground. Without the riverbed, the water has no direction. When they work together, something powerful happens. Life flourishes along the banks. Commerce develops at the crossing points. Civilizations rise near the source. You are both the water and the riverbed. You contain the flowing creative energy of the universe itself, and you have been given the capacity to channel that energy into specific forms that serve specific needs. When you understand this, you stop looking for opportunity and start creating opportunity. You stop waiting for someone to hire you and start seeing problems you can solve. You stop asking what the world can give you and start asking what you can give to the world. The power to create wealth operates through 4 fundamental channels that exist within every human being. First, creativity, the ability to see solutions where others see problems, to envision possibilities where others see limitations. Second, discipline, the capacity to take consistent action over extended periods, to delay gratification for greater future rewards. Third, vision, the spiritual insight to perceive not just what is, but what could be, what should be, what will be when divine potential meets human effort. Fourth, action, the willingness to move from thought to deed, from dream to reality, from possibility to manifestation. These aren't just natural abilities. These are spiritual gifts. They are expressions of the divine nature working through human personality. When you create something valuable that didn't exist before, you are participating in the ongoing creation of the universe. When you solve a problem that has been causing pain, you are participating in the healing of the world. When you build something that serves others, you are participating in the establishment of God's kingdom on earth. But here's what most people don't understand. These gifts must be developed. Power unused becomes power lost. Creativity without expression withers into frustration. Vision without action fades into fantasy. Discipline without purpose becomes mere endurance. The power to create wealth isn't just given. It's grown through intentional cultivation of the gifts God has placed within you. I remember a young craftsman who came to my court. His hands shook as he presented a simple wooden bowl he had carved. It was beautiful but rough, the work of someone just beginning to discover his gift. I could have dismissed him, sent him away to practice for years before returning. Instead, I gave him access to the royal workshop, connected him with master craftsmen, provided him with the finest tools and materials. Not because his current skill deserved it, but because his potential demanded it. Years later, that same craftsman created furniture so extraordinary that kings from distant lands would journey to Jerusalem just to commission his work. He became wealthy not because I gave him money, but because I helped him develop the wealth-creating power that was already within him. This is what happens when you stop seeing yourself as limited by your current circumstances and start seeing yourself as unlimited by your divine potential. You begin to invest in your gifts instead of resenting your limitations. You begin to develop your abilities instead of making excuses for your results. You begin to create value instead of just consuming what others have created. The tragedy is that most people live and die without ever fully accessing the wealth-creating power within them. They take jobs that require only a fraction of their abilities. They accept salaries that reflect their current performance instead of their future potential. They settle for survival instead of reaching for significance. But you don't have to be most people. You can choose to see yourself as God sees you, not as a victim of circumstances, but as a co-creator of reality. Not as someone who needs wealth to be given to you, but as someone who has the power to generate wealth for yourself and others. The power is already yours. The question is whether you will develop it or waste it, activate it or ignore it, use it to transform your life, or let it remain dormant while you wonder why abundance eludes you. Number 4, the example of Solomon. I need to tell you something about the moment that changed everything. It wasn't when I became king. It wasn't when the kingdom was established or when peace was secured. It was a single night, a dream that felt more real than waking life, a conversation with God that revealed the difference between those who stumble into temporary wealth and those who build lasting prosperity. God appeared to me and offered anything I wanted, anything, unlimited resources of the universe at my disposal. I could have asked for long life, for the destruction of my enemies, for immediate wealth beyond measure. The temptation was overwhelming. What young man, suddenly thrust into power, wouldn't want the security that comes with knowing he has everything he could ever need? But something deeper stirred within me. I realized that asking for wealth without wisdom was like asking for a sword without knowing how to use it. I understood, in that moment of divine encounter, that prosperity without proper understanding becomes a curse that destroys rather than builds, that isolates rather than connects, that corrupts rather than elevates. So I asked for wisdom, not the wisdom of books or theories, but the wisdom to govern well, to make decisions that would serve not just myself but generations to come, to understand the deeper principles that govern both earthly success and spiritual significance. And here's what happened next. God was so pleased with this request that he gave me not only the wisdom I asked for, but also the wealth I didn't ask for. Because wisdom always creates wealth, but wealth without wisdom always creates chaos. You see, most people have this backwards. They think money is the goal and wisdom is the tool. But money is always the result, never the cause. Wisdom is the seed, prosperity is the fruit. Understanding is the foundation. Abundance is the building that rises upon it. When you get the order right, everything changes. When you get it wrong, nothing works, no matter how hard you try. I learned to see wealth not as an end in itself, but as a natural consequence of applied wisdom. I studied the patterns of prosperity. I observed how value is created, multiplied, and sustained. I understood that true wealth isn't just about accumulating resources. It's about becoming the kind of person who can handle resources without being corrupted by them. This is why so many people who win lotteries lose everything within a few years. They receive wealth without developing the wisdom to manage it. They gain access to resources without building the character to steward them. They experience abundance without understanding the principles that created it or the responsibilities that come with it. I built my wealth systematically. I established trade relationships that created value for all parties involved. I invested in infrastructure that would benefit the kingdom for generations. I created systems that would continue generating prosperity long after I was gone. Every decision was guided by wisdom. Every investment was aligned with principle. Every business relationship was built on mutual benefit rather than exploitation. But here's the part that most people miss when they study my story. My wealth was never separate from my relationship with God. It was the expression of that relationship. When I aligned my earthly activities with divine principle, prosperity flowed naturally. When I managed resources according to spiritual laws, abundance multiplied supernaturally. This doesn't mean I sat in my palace praying for money to appear. I negotiated trade agreements. I supervised construction projects. I made strategic alliances. I solved complex logistical problems. Faith didn't replace action. Faith guided action. Prayer didn't substitute for planning. Prayer informed planning. I learned that God doesn't bless spiritual people with secular success and material people with spiritual growth. He blesses integrated people who understand that there is no separation between sacred and secular, between faith and business, between spiritual principles and financial practices. The wisdom I received taught me that wealth is ultimately stewardship. Every resource that comes into your hands is a test of your character and a tool for your purpose. Money reveals who you really are. Power exposes your true values. Abundance either develops your wisdom or demonstrates your foolishness. This is why I could write that the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. Not because God wants you to be afraid of Him, but because true wisdom begins when you understand that you are accountable for how you use every gift you've been given. When you realize that your talents, your opportunities, your resources are not just for your benefit, but for the advancement of God's purposes on earth. The same wisdom that built my kingdom is available to you. The same principles that multiplied my resources can multiply yours. The same God who blessed me with prosperity wants to bless you with prosperity. But you must want wisdom more than wealth, understanding more than possessions, character more than comfort. Because when you have wisdom, wealth follows. When you lack wisdom, wealth flees. When you choose wisdom, God adds what you need. When you choose wealth without wisdom, you lose both the wealth and the wisdom you could have gained. This is not just my story. This is the pattern. This is how it works for everyone who learns to align earthly activity with heavenly principle, who combines spiritual devotion with practical application, who seeks first the kingdom of God and finds that everything else is added unto them. Number 5, how to activate this power in you. The activation begins with a destruction. Before you can build the wealth-creating life you desire, you must demolish the poverty-creating beliefs that have been programmed into your mind since childhood. These beliefs operate like invisible chains, restricting your movements while you wonder why you can't reach your destination. They whisper lies so consistently that you've begun to mistake them for truth. Right now, buried deep in your subconscious mind are thoughts like money is the root of all evil, rich people are selfish, I don't deserve abundance, wanting wealth is unspiritual, good people struggle financially. These aren't just ideas. They're active forces working against your prosperity every moment of every day. They sabotage your efforts, cloud your judgment, and ensure that even when opportunity presents itself, you'll find a way to explain why it's not for you. But what if I told you that every one of these beliefs is a lie designed to keep you small, manageable, and dependent? What if I told you that the very thoughts you've been taught to think about money are the primary obstacles preventing you from accessing the wealth-creating power within you? The transformation begins when you realize that your current financial reality isn't the result of external circumstances beyond your control. It's the inevitable outcome of internal beliefs that have been shaping your choices for years. Change the beliefs and you change the choices. Change the choices and you change the results. Change the results and you change your life. Picture a garden that has been neglected for years. Weeds have taken over, choking out any possibility of productive growth. You could plant the finest seeds, apply the best fertilizer, and provide perfect conditions, but nothing worthwhile will grow until you remove the weeds that are stealing nutrients and blocking sunlight. Your mind is that garden, and your limiting beliefs about money are those weeds. The removal process requires brutal honesty about the thoughts you've been thinking, and the stories you've been telling yourself about why prosperity hasn't manifested in your life. Every excuse you've made, every justification you've created, every reason you've given for why wealth is meant for others, but not for you, must be examined under the light of truth and abandoned if it doesn't serve your highest good. I once knew a man who possessed extraordinary skill as a craftsman. His hands could shape wood into forms so beautiful that people wept when they saw his work. But he had been raised to believe that charging fair prices for his art was greedy, that true artists should care more about their craft than their compensation. So he gave away his work for almost nothing, convincing himself that his poverty proved his purity. Years passed. His talent remained undeveloped because he couldn't afford proper tools or materials. His potential remained unrealized because he couldn't invest time in perfecting his craft while working multiple jobs just to survive. His gift to the world remained small because he had been taught to believe that financial success would somehow diminish his artistic integrity. The breakthrough came when he finally understood that his poverty wasn't serving anyone. By undervaluing his work, he was teaching others to undervalue it as well. By struggling financially, he was limiting his ability to create beauty that could transform lives. By accepting less than his worth, he was enabling a system that kept talented people trapped in survival mode instead of thriving in their purpose. This is the shift that must happen in your mind. From seeing wealth as evidence of selfishness to seeing wealth as a tool for greater service. From viewing prosperity as a distraction from spirituality to understanding prosperity as an expression of spirituality. From believing that wanting more proves you're ungrateful to recognizing that wanting more might be God's way of expanding your capacity to give more. But mindset alone isn't enough. Mental transformation must be followed by practical application. You must discover the specific gift within you that, when fully developed and properly applied, becomes your personal pathway to prosperity. This isn't just about finding your passion or following your dreams. This is about identifying the intersection of your natural abilities, your acquired skills, and the world's genuine needs. Everyone has this intersection. Everyone possesses some combination of talents, experiences, and insights that, when properly packaged and presented, can solve problems for other people. And when you solve problems for other people, prosperity flows naturally. Not because you're greedy, but because value creation always generates wealth. The question isn't whether you have gifts. The question is whether you've identified them, developed them, and learned to multiply them in service of others. The tragedy isn't that some people are born without talents. The tragedy is that most people die with their talents still wrapped in the comfortable burial cloth of excuses and fears. Prayer becomes different when you understand your role as a co-creator rather than a passive recipient. Instead of asking God to give you wealth, you ask God to show you how to create value. Instead of praying for money to come to you, you pray for wisdom to generate prosperity for yourself and others. Instead of seeking supernatural provision, you seek supernatural insight into natural principles. And then you act. Not someday when you feel ready, not tomorrow when conditions improve, not next year when you have more experience. Today, with what you have, where you are. Knowing that the power to create wealth isn't waiting for perfect circumstances to activate. It's waiting for willing vessels to flow through. The activation you seek isn't a future event. It's a present choice. The power you need isn't coming someday. It's available today. The only question is whether you'll continue making excuses for why it won't work for you or start making plans for how it will. Number 6, the role of continuous action. You have been praying for a miracle, but you have been avoiding the movement that makes miracles possible. You have been asking God to change your circumstances while remaining unchanged yourself. You have been waiting for breakthrough while staying comfortable in patterns that created your current situation. And somewhere deep in your heart, you know that your prayers have become a substitute for the very actions that would answer them. The most dangerous lie ever whispered into the human spirit is that faith means waiting for God to act on your behalf. This lie has paralyzed millions of potentially prosperous people who spend their lives in spiritual anticipation instead of spiritual activation. They pray for doors to open while never walking toward any doors. They ask for opportunities while remaining unprepared to recognize them. They beg for provision while never becoming providers. But God doesn't move in response to your need. God moves in response to your faith, and faith is always demonstrated by movement. Real faith doesn't sit still. Real faith takes the first step before the path is clear. Real faith begins building before the blueprint is complete. Real faith acts as if the prayer has already been answered, because it understands that answered prayer often looks like aligned action. Every day you delay taking meaningful action toward your financial goals is a day you delay your own prosperity. There is no neutral ground in wealth creation. You are either moving toward abundance or away from it. You are either developing wealth-creating habits or reinforcing poverty-maintaining patterns. You are either becoming the person who can handle greater resources or remaining the person who struggles with current circumstances. Think of a farmer who prays for harvest but never plants seeds. How long would you respect his faith? How seriously would you take his complaints about hunger? How much sympathy would you have for his empty barns when fertile ground surrounds him and seeds are available but unused? Yet this is exactly how millions of people approach their financial lives. They pray for prosperity while never planting prosperity seeds. They ask for abundance while never taking abundance actions. The universe operates on momentum. Objects at rest tend to stay at rest. Objects in motion tend to stay in motion. This isn't just physics, this is spiritual law. When you take action aligned with your goals, you create momentum that attracts resources, opportunities, and connections that were invisible while you were stationary. When you remain motionless, you remain powerless, no matter how fervent your prayers or how genuine your faith. I knew a merchant who spent months planning the perfect trading expedition. He researched routes, calculated costs, studied market conditions, and developed detailed strategies for maximizing profit. His preparations were thorough, his knowledge was complete, his plans were excellent. But he never departed. He kept waiting for perfect conditions, for absolute certainty, for guarantees of success that would never come. Meanwhile, another merchant with half his knowledge and quarter his resources loaded his caravans and began trading. He made mistakes. He encountered setbacks. Some ventures failed completely. But he learned from every experience, adjusted his approach, and gradually built a trading empire while the first merchant was still perfecting his plans. The difference wasn't intelligence or resources or even faith. The difference was understanding that action creates information, movement generates momentum, and doing something imperfectly is infinitely more powerful than planning something perfectly but never executing it. Your current financial situation is the accumulated result of all your past actions and inactions. Every day you choose comfort over growth. Every opportunity you decline because of fear. Every excuse you make instead of taking responsibility adds up to create the limitation you're experiencing right now. But this also means that every day you choose growth over comfort. Every opportunity you pursue despite fear. Every action you take instead of making excuses accumulates to create the abundance you desire. The distance between where you are financially and where you want to be isn't measured in time or luck or circumstances. It's measured in actions. Specific, intentional, consistent actions taken daily regardless of how you feel, regardless of what others say, regardless of whether you can see the full path ahead. But here's what most people don't understand about continuous action. It's not just about doing more things. It's about doing the right things consistently over extended periods until those actions compound into extraordinary results. It's about understanding that small actions, repeated daily, create massive transformation over time, while dramatic actions taken sporadically create only temporary change. Financial miracles don't happen to people who pray and wait. Financial miracles happen to people who pray and work, who believe and build, who have faith and take action. The miracle isn't that money falls from heaven. The miracle is that when you align your actions with divine principles, your efforts produce supernatural results. Every morning you wake up with a choice. You can spend the day engaged in activities that move you closer to your financial goals, or you can spend the day in activities that keep you where you are. You can invest your time in developing wealth-creating skills, or you can waste your time in wealth-consuming entertainment. You can take actions that build your future, or you can take actions that merely maintain your present. Your harvest will be proportional to your daily courage. Your prosperity will reflect your persistent effort. Your abundance will mirror your accumulated actions, not your prayers alone, not your faith alone, not your dreams alone. Your prayers combined with corresponding actions, your faith demonstrated through consistent movement, your dreams supported by daily disciplines. The time for waiting is over. The season of preparation without execution must end. The comfortable illusion that someday you'll feel ready, someday conditions will improve, someday you'll have enough knowledge or resources or courage, must be shattered by the reality that today is the only day you have and action is the only force that creates change. Move now, act now, begin now, not perfectly but purposefully, not with complete certainty but with complete commitment. Your financial future is waiting for your next decision, and your next decision is waiting for your next action. Number 7, prosperity is purpose, not vanity. There comes a moment in every person's relationship with wealth when they must choose between two paths that determine not just their financial destiny, but their spiritual legacy. One path leads to prosperity as an end in itself, where money becomes a master that demands increasingly degrading forms of service. The other path leads to prosperity as a beginning, where wealth becomes a tool that amplifies your ability to serve, create, and transform both your own life and the lives of others. This choice reveals everything about who you really are beneath the surface of your ambitions, your fears, and your carefully constructed public image. It exposes whether your desire for abundance springs from a wounded ego seeking validation or from a mature spirit seeking greater capacity for contribution. It determines whether wealth will heal the broken places in your soul or expose the darkness that was hiding in your financial limitation. Most people never make this choice consciously. They stumble into wealth or remain trapped in poverty without ever understanding the spiritual dynamics at work in their financial lives. They either vilify money as the enemy of virtue or worship money as the solution to all problems, never realizing that money is simply a mirror that reflects the condition of their character and the clarity of their purpose. But you have the opportunity to choose differently. You can pursue prosperity with the understanding that every dollar you earn, every asset you acquire, every business you build is ultimately a stewardship entrusted to you by the same God who created the universe and called you to participate in its ongoing creation. You can see wealth not as something you accumulate for selfish consumption, but as something that flows through you for purposeful distribution. When prosperity becomes your purpose rather than your vanity, everything changes. Your motivations purify. Your methods align with divine principles. Your results serve others while they serve you. Your wealth becomes a blessing that multiplies rather than a burden that isolates. Your success opens doors for others instead of closing your heart to their needs. Picture two rivers. One flows into a dead sea where nothing lives because the water comes in but never flows out. It becomes stagnant, toxic, lifeless. The other flows through fertile valleys, nourishing everything it touches, creating abundance wherever it goes because it understands that its purpose isn't to hold water but to move water, not to accumulate but to distribute, not to end the flow but to channel it. You can be either river. You can build wealth that stagnates in selfish accumulation, that corrupts your relationships and compromises your integrity, that makes you rich in resources but poor in purpose. Or you can build wealth that flows through generous distribution, that blesses your community and expands your influence, that makes you prosperous in ways that money alone could never measure. I learned this truth through both success and failure, through seasons of accumulation and seasons of loss, through relationships that were strengthened by prosperity and relationships that were destroyed by it. Wealth without purpose is not just empty, it's actively destructive. It consumes rather than creates. It takes more than it gives. It promises fulfillment but delivers only increasing appetite for more wealth, more power, more control. But wealth aligned with divine purpose becomes something entirely different. It becomes a force for healing, for building, for restoration, for expansion of everything good and beautiful and true. It becomes a weapon against injustice, a tool for opportunity creation, a bridge between what is and what could be. It becomes not just a reward for your efforts but a responsibility for your service. This is why God can trust some people with great wealth while others remain limited, no matter how hard they work or how faithfully they pray. It's not about favoritism or luck or arbitrary blessing. It's about stewardship. God gives more resources to those who demonstrate they can handle resources in ways that advance His purposes, rather than just their own comfort. The shift from prosperity as vanity to prosperity as purpose begins with a fundamental reorientation of your relationship to money. Instead of asking, "How can I get more?" you begin asking, "How can I give more?" Instead of focusing on what wealth can do for you, you start exploring what wealth can do through you. Instead of seeing money as the goal, you begin seeing money as the fuel for achieving goals that matter beyond your own desires. This doesn't mean you can't enjoy the good things that prosperity provides. It doesn't mean you must live in artificial poverty to prove your spirituality. It doesn't mean every dollar you earn must be immediately given away. It means your enjoyment of wealth is enhanced, rather than corrupted by the knowledge that your prosperity serves a purpose larger than personal gratification. When you build businesses that solve problems and create value for others, wealth flows naturally because you're participating in the fundamental structure of how prosperity works. When you develop skills that serve needs and meet demands, abundance follows because you're aligning with the principles that govern wealth creation. When you steward resources in ways that multiply benefit for yourself and others, God entrusts you with greater resources because you've proven you understand the true purpose of prosperity. The wealthy who understand this live with a peace that eludes those who see money as either enemy or idol. They sleep well because their wealth was built on service rather than exploitation. They enjoy abundance without guilt because their prosperity blesses others as well as themselves. They increase their wealth without losing their souls because they never forgot that the purpose of prosperity is not personal aggrandizement but universal elevation. True power is silent because it doesn't need to prove itself. True wealth is generous because it understands its source. True prosperity is consistent because it's built on principles that don't change with circumstances. And true purpose transforms everything it touches, including the money that serves it. Imagine standing at the edge of a vast ocean that stretches beyond the horizon. For years, you believed you were meant to live on the shore, collecting the shells that washed up from someone else's depths. You convinced yourself that the ocean was too vast, too dangerous, too unknown for someone like you. But today, something has shifted. Today, you see the truth that was always there. You were never meant to be a collector of leftovers. You were meant to be a navigator of infinite waters. The power flowing through your veins right now is the same power that parted seas, that transformed deserts into gardens, that built kingdoms from nothing but vision and faith. This power doesn't distinguish between the worthy and the unworthy, between the prepared and the unprepared. It flows wherever it finds vessels willing to be filled and channels ready to direct its course. Every morning, as the sun rises, creation begins again. The earth doesn't question whether it deserves another day of growth. The trees don't doubt their right to reach toward light. The rivers don't apologize for flowing toward their destination. They simply align with the laws that govern abundance and allow life to express itself through them. You are part of this same creation. You are woven from the same fabric of possibility. The breath in your lungs carries the same creative force that spoke galaxies into existence. The thoughts in your mind are connected to the same intelligence that orchestrates the movement of planets and the rhythm of seasons. If you feel the stirring of something greater calling you forward, if these words resonate in places deeper than logic can reach, then join me on this journey of awakening. Subscribe not just to a channel, but to the unfolding revelation of who you really are and what you were truly created to accomplish. The ocean is waiting. Your ship is ready. The wind that will fill your sails is the same breath that filled the first human being with the power to create, to build, to prosper. What you do with this moment determines whether you remain a shore dweller or become the navigator of your own abundant destiny.